If ice cream is your favorite dessert, you're in good company. Ice cream has been enjoyed for millennia. But it wasn't until 1960 that Reuben Mattis took the reins on his family's ice cream company. He came up with a novel structure and ratio of ingredients, creating the world's first so-called super premium ice cream. He named the company Häagen-Dazs, a brand which has been fueling our sweet tooth for the decades since. What makes this company revolutionary is that it didn't oversimplify the ice cream making process, recognizing the subtleties of stabilizing sugar, cream, and air bubbles. That's right, air bubbles. If it's not the first ingredient that comes to mind when you're picturing ice cream, maybe it should be. Ice cream is technically a foam. Specifically, it's a bubbly foam, meaning the bubbles maintain a spherical structure. Their most crucial contribution to the product is impacting texture. More and smaller air bubbles make it smoother, but there is a Goldilocks region. Too little air, and the ice cream is dense, heavy, and icy, as the ice crystals are tempted to coalesce without these handy bubbles separating them. Too much air, and it's simply too fluffy. While the bubbles surround the ice crystals to prevent them from getting too big, fat does the same thing for the air, forming a network around them and thereby stabilizing them so they don't combine to form large air pockets. This would, of course, produce smoothness. There's even a metric ice cream companies use, called overrun, which is a measurement of air that's whipped into the ice cream. Higher overruns have more air, but also melt faster. Most commercial ice creams have very high overruns, with up to half their volume being air. Häagen-Dazs and other so-called super premium ice cream producers have very low overruns, just low enough to prevent ice from recrystallizing to noticeable size. Higher overruns risk diluting the flavor. At freezing temperatures, the ice cream serum is more viscous, stabilizing the bubbles and keeping them from coalescing into bigger bubbles that would make the ice cream coarser. Thus, the bubble network degrades each time the ice cream thaws and is refrozen. On the left, we have fresh ice cream's small ice crystals, and, on the right, ice crystals after being melted and refrozen.
Fat serves many purposes in the creation of ice cream. Fat globules bind to aroma-carrying compounds in ice cream in order to spread flavor. The globules regulate ice crystal size in ice cream. Too large of an ice crystal leads to a gritty feeling. The fat globules serve as an ice crystal growth inhibitor, limiting their size by surrounding the crystal. The main fat of interest in ice cream is butterfat. Butterfat has a narrow range of temperatures over which it melts, not all melting at once. This range of temperatures is what gives rise to the gradual meltdown of ice cream in a person's mouth. Fat contents in ice cream range from a mandated minimum of 10% to 16% by weight. Super premium ice creams like Häagen-Dazs are at the high end of the scale. Partial binding of fat globules is what gives ice cream its creamy texture. Too much partial binding of the fat globules leads to a greasy texture. Dr. Maya Warren, a researcher with the University of Wisconsin, describes that it might feel like chapstick on the roof of your mouth. Controlling fat globule size is achieved through a process called homogenization, by which two immiscible substances are combined to form one homogeneous solution. Fat is subjected to high pressures, between 2500 and 3000 psi, before being injected into the ice cream mix. In doing so, the fat globule size is controlled precisely.
The three components of ice cream, air bubbles, fat globules, and ice crystals, are all suspended in a solution that consists of sucrose, water, and some milk proteins. The ice crystals are derived from the sucrose solution, and these two phases maintain equilibrium as the temperature drops below the freezing point. To achieve a smooth texture, finer ice crystals are desired. However, when you buy ice cream and transport it, the temperature increases slightly, causing the ice crystals to melt. This in turn causes the smallest crystals to disappear, and they do not reform again even when the ice cream is cooled. Instead, they coagulate onto the larger surviving crystals. The net effect is that there are fewer and larger crystals, resulting in a grittier texture. This outcome is further amplified as the temperature fluctuation increases. Not only do the size of the crystals matter, but the amount of crystals present also affects the texture. Ideally, ice cream is comprised of about 60% ice. Too much and the ice cream will be too hard. Not enough and the consistency will be more similar to custard than ice cream. The Häagen-Dazs ice cream we all know and love today would not exist if scientists had not carefully studied the microstructure of ice cream. By understanding the role that air bubbles, fat globules, and ice crystals play on the taste and texture of the final product, formulation scientists can design a premium-grade ice cream by optimizing the ratios of these different components. Just some food for thought the next time you decide to enjoy a scoop of your favorite ice cream.